You know, for a really long time, the finance department was basically seen purely as a back office function. It was just a place where numbers were crunched, spreadsheets were endlessly updated, and historical data was neatly packaged up weeks after the fact. But listen, that era, it's completely over. Welcome to this explainer. Today we're looking at something that is fundamentally reshaping enterprise business, record-to-report transformation. Modern record-to-report, or R2R, consulting is literally transforming finance into a powerhouse of strategic business intelligence. We're going to look at this strictly from the CFO's perspective, exploring how upgrading these foundational processes doesn't just, clean up the books, but actually accelerates enterprise agility and drives forward-looking decisions.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with R2R fundamentals, move right into solving common challenges, explore the AI and automation impact, look at measurable strategic outcomes, discuss evaluating R2R partners, and finally, we'll peer into future finance trends for 2026.
All right, Section 1, R2R fundamentals, the backbone of corporate finance. Let's get into it.
So, before we talk transformation, let's just make sure we're all on the exact same page about what this process actually is, especially for the non-finance business leaders joining us today. Record-to-report is the end-to-end process of collecting, processing, validating, and reporting enterprise financial information. And the goal here is to drive compliance and strategic intelligence. From a CFO's perspective, R2R isn't just about accounting. It's not just tallying up what happened last month. It's the absolutely critical pipeline that turns raw operational data into the insights leadership needs to actually steer the company. A modernized R2R process creates a finance organization that is truly capable of delivering faster, way more reliable insights.
Let's break that pipeline down into its specific stages. It all starts with transaction recording, capturing financial events from procurement, sales, payroll, treasury, the whole shebang. Then we move into journal entry management, which is followed by account reconciliation. That's where teams validate balances and investigate any weird discrepancies. Next up is financial close management, which is really the heavy lifting of orchestrating all those month-end or quarter-end activities. That leads directly into financial reporting for both internal and external stakeholders. And finally, performance analytics. Now think about how insanely complex this is for a huge global enterprise. You might have a raw procurement transaction for service space in Berlin, right alongside a massive sales contract signed in Tokyo. This six-step life cycle is exactly what refines that massive chaotic global data pool into a clean, highly actionable executive dashboard.
Moving on to Section 2, Solving Common Challenges, Breaking the Spreadsheet Habit.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast between where so many companies are currently stuck and where they desperately need to be. The reality is that six-step process we just talked about, it's rarely orderly. In a lot of traditional finance functions, a delayed month-end close isn't just an administrative headache anymore, it is a massive strategic roadblock. The old way over here on the left is characterized by a heavy dependency on spreadsheets, intensely manual reconciliations, and highly fragmented ERP environments. And all of that leads directly to delayed close cycles. You literally cannot make real-time decisions because you're stuck waiting weeks just to see last month's numbers. But looking at the right, modern needs absolutely demand automated standard processes, intelligent decisions, and real-time financial visibility. Organizations simply cannot meet modern business demands relying on that old way.
And relying on that old way creates some seriously tangible risks. We're talking about highly inconsistent reporting standards across different business units, or just simple human errors from manual rekeying. In fact, some studies actually suggest nearly 90% of complex spreadsheets contain errors. 90%. Combine that with a complete lack of proper audit trails and fragmented global accounting, and it ultimately leads to delayed regulatory filings. These are the specific compliance and audit risks that keep CFOs up at night. When your finance operations are this resource-intensive and manual, you aren't just slow, you're incredibly vulnerable.
Section 3. The AI and automation impact. The paradigm shift.
So, how do we actually solve this? How do we take a finance team from vulnerable and slow to secure and agile? Well, the core philosophy of modern R2R consulting is this: shift the focus from repetitive transactional activities toward strategic analysis and business partnership. Think about it. You definitely don't want your brightest financial minds spending 80% of their time just matching rows in a giant spreadsheet. You want them analyzing that data, forecasting trends, and acting as true strategic advisors to the business.
And here is exactly how AI and machine learning make that paradigm shift possible. We're talking about AI acting as an ever-watchful auditor through anomaly detection, literally flagging errors before they ever become real issues.
We're talking about predictive cash flow forecasting that gives leadership a telescope into the future rather than just staring in a rearview mirror. Intelligent reconciliation matching uses algorithms to clear the vast majority of standard transactions pretty much instantly. And exception-based accounting workflows? That means your team only ever steps in when human judgment is actually required. By utilizing these enablers, you directly eliminate the exact bottlenecks and manual errors that hold traditional finance departments back.
All right, Section 4, measurable strategic outcomes, the business value.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the technology, but let's be real. Technology just for technology's sake isn't enough. We have to look at the ultimate ROI for a CFO who's investing in R2R digital transformation. So what does R2R transformation actually deliver for the business? If you pull the trigger and commit to this major initiative, what tangible executive-level business value is actually generated on the other side?
So the crucial point is that the outcomes are highly measurable and deeply impactful. First, you achieve significantly reduced month-end close timelines, which gives you much faster access to vital data. You see lower operational costs because you've successfully automated away all that repetitive manual effort. You gain stronger financial controls and fully standardized global accounting processes, meaning whether an entity is operating in Tokyo or Toronto, the standard is the exact same. And finally, you get massively enhanced audit preparedness. This transformation delivers real agility, visibility, and operational efficiency at an incredible scale.
Let's look at Section 5, evaluating R2R partners, finding a strategic advisor.
Now, of course, transforming an enterprise's entire financial ecosystem isn't typically something you just do entirely in-house. It requires partnering with global consulting providers who have deep, specialized expertise in both finance and the very latest technologies. We're looking at industry leaders like WNS, Accenture, Genpact, Capgemini, and others. These firms are well equipped to handle incredibly complex financial structures across highly regulated sectors, places like banking, healthcare, manufacturing, and telecommunications. They bring the sheer scale, the intricate ERP knowledge, and the digital transformation experience that is required to truly overhaul global finance operations.
And this brilliantly illustrates how you should evaluate these providers, because you are not just looking for a traditional vendor here. You need a strategic partner. As you can see, the core focus has to shift from mere transactional outsourcing to full-blown enterprise finance transformation. The technology shouldn't just manage fragmented ERP systems, it must fully integrate AI, automation, and analytics into one seamless ecosystem. And critically, a traditional vendor just gives you static resource fulfillment, which is essentially just putting bodies in seats. A true strategic partner, on the other hand, delivers scalable global operations and deep compliance expertise. This is what allows your finance operating model to adapt efficiently during major events like mergers, acquisitions, or sudden global expansion.
Let's move to Section 6 and see how this builds into future finance trends for 2026. Looking ahead.
Building directly from today's best practices, the future of R2R is entirely centered around predictive intelligence and AI-enabled decision-making. We are rapidly moving toward continuous accounting and real-time financial reporting, where the books are essentially always closed and the data is always perfectly current. Autonomous reconciliations are quickly going to become the standard. We'll see generative AI deeply integrated into everyday finance workflows to assist with incredibly complex variance analysis and reporting. And ESG and sustainability integration will sit seamlessly right alongside our traditional financial metrics. Make no mistake, these emerging trends are rapidly evolving finance organizations from purely historical reporting functions into forward-looking, highly strategic intelligence centers.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. Look closely at your own organization. Is your finance operation looking backward at history, or is it looking forward with predictive intelligence? Because in a few short years, relying on manual spreadsheets won't just make you slow, it will literally make you obsolete. The transition to an AI-driven, fully automated record-to-report ecosystem isn't just a nice-to-have anymore. It's a fundamental requirement for staying competitive and agile in today's incredibly complex global market. The transformation starts right now. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this truly vital world of R2R transformation.